Hey guys, this is Kevin for Pixovert.com. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Adobe Dimension. Now, this is a package that you can use to create 3D designs and to integrate them into scenes. Now, this is an example here. I was working with this lamp. I wanted to test something that had a glow in it, translucency, reflections. And this is something I threw together in a few minutes. It's rendered very quickly. And you can tell how good this software is at rendering reflections and lights and all kinds of 3D stuff. So I was very impressed with it. We're working inside of Photoshop because I rendered it already, but we're going to be working inside of Dimension. Before we get started, I wanted to show you can export things as a PSD from Dimension, and it will give you a whole bunch of other features that you can use inside of Photoshop. So some of this stuff may be familiar to you. You've got materials, you've got depth map, all that good stuff. But you don't have to be someone who's very knowledgeable about 3D to use Dimension. I'm going to be working inside of Dimension and also a little bit maybe inside of Photoshop. This is a background that I designed for Dimension. We're going to maybe be using this. There's a 3D menu inside of Photoshop. It works very similarly to Dimension. I've got quite a lot of tutorials on 3D inside of Photoshop, and I'm going to have a link to a playlist to some of the more popular ones. And that will help you to get started inside of Photoshop if you want to extend your work to Photoshop. But for this video, we're going to be focusing on Dimension and actually working on a simple project that will involve a couple of different models. Now, this is Dimension. It's extremely powerful and you don't need to be an expert in 3D. That's really the main thing. We are going to grab a couple of models and I'll throw something together. Now, let me give you a brief introduction to what we're looking at here. We've got the main canvas here. We've got some assets that you get when you first install the software. And we've got some tools on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, we've got the main sort of control panel for deciding how things play out inside of the canvas. And then we've got a bunch of stuff to do with rendering and cameras. We've also got the design tab and a render tab, which you can use to output your work. So we'll be looking at most of these. And what I want to do is to start off by dragging a model. So the models are, you can filter by models, and you click on this icon to filter by model. I'm using the pointer tool, and I'm just going to click and drag this. And we can move it like this, or you can just grab it and move it around like that. Now, what we want to do is to, if I wanted to, we could center this in the camera, and I think that will be just clicking on that icon there. Now that looks fantastic, but that's not really what I want. I want to undo that, and to undo a camera move, you click on this icon here. So you've got the regular undo menu, and you also have a camera undo. So it is really, really well thought out, and you really can't go wrong with this software. We're gonna create a second object. I'm gonna take this box, this food box, just place it there. And I don't know if I want to make the cup larger. Let's make the cup a little bit larger. So let me undo that and hold down Shift. That allows me to create a big old cup. And you can move things around by dragging them around like this, or you can use the arrows. I tend to use these arrows here. It's a little bit easier to do that. The circles allow you to rotate, and you can rotate to increments of 15 by holding down Shift. And the squares allow you to resize, and you can resize proportionately by holding down Shift. Control Z undoes, Control or Command Z. I'm going to create a backdrop, and to do that, I'm just going to take I think an image, this horizontal gradient should be a decent backdrop to work with. You can always change things around. I mean, this is really flexible software. Now we have here the models that we can work with. We also have some materials, and we've got Adobe standard materials, and we've got substance materials. They basically allow you, everything here is mainly done in a really simple way. So it's going to be drag and drop, drag and drop. Let's drop some piece of plastic. I'm going to search for plastic. And we can drag the plastic. Let me select the cup. If we come over here, we can see there's a scene, and inside there we've got the model selected. So we can select this box here. We'll get a different selection. Select the cup. We can select the lid, and I want to work on the lid. So with that selected, I'm just going to drag and drop. And that gives us a really nice top for our cup. Now, if you want to move things around a little bit, you can go and click on this icon, and that allows you to just move things around a little bit. Let me do that for the time being. And let's go ahead and change the material on the cup itself. So, so let's click here to go back. Let's go to the cup, and I want either a paper or plastic. Let's try paper. Let's search for paper. I'm going to choose this paper. I'm just going to drag and drop. That looks awesome. Next, what I want to do is to play around with the lighting. So we can go to this lighting here, and the lighting is really, really cool. We can drag out one of these studio lights and just drop it here. And you can see it gives some interesting lighting to our design. We can rotate the lights around. And just to see how everything will look with the new lighting, we can click on this icon, which is the render icon. Now, when you, that looks fantastic. Now you can really see the shadows, and if we had any reflections going on, we'll be able to see some reflections as well. So let's go ahead and let me see. I like that. I like that. We'll go with that. Let's go to the pictures, this section here, which contains images. And here we can take one of these icons and just drop it on the cup. Isn't that cool? I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. Let me undo that. Let's take the earth icon and just drop it there. We can resize the icon. Let me click on this here. We can move it around. So we can move around the icon, and it just drags around the cup there. That's really amazing. We can hold down Shift and rescale it. Now I want to try to blend this in a little bit more with the cup. So what we can do is to change the texture, say to metallic, and that will give it a little bit of a gloss. And we can go to the cup itself, and let's choose cup. Now I want to work on the material, the cup material. So we can click on this icon here for the material for the cup. And we can go ahead and let me see. Let's open this up. Let's open this up. Okay, so with this particular material for the cup, it has somewhat different properties. It has this dirtiness, and it has this crumple. So it doesn't have that metallic texture. So it looks okay, but we won't be able to get it to show some metal. Let me try a different material. I'll try this one. That one's a little bit better. We can change the color, maybe something a little bit more interesting. Let's try green, make it nice and dark. Now you can download more materials from Adobe stock. Let's go ahead and try that. Now I've already done that, so those are in my libraries, and let me see if I can find my stock, my Adobe stock stuff. So I downloaded some materials and saved them here. Let's try this white canvas and just see what that looks like. Okay, that doesn't look right at all. Let's go back to the starter materials. Now, another way of looking at the materials is to do the list view, and that might be a little bit easier to read. Okay, I'm gonna try this matte pattern. You can see it's replacing the pattern or the material up here. Now this one has a metallic, so let's turn up the metallic. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a luster going on there. Okay, and I'm going to actually change this pattern out for one of my own patterns. So I downloaded a pattern from a website, I think FreePick, and let's go to my libraries and choose stock. So I've got this icon here, which I'm going to trade out for the one that I placed on the cup. And to do that in a neat way, I'm going to click on the cup up here. We'll choose cup. And I'm going to double click on cup. We can see the materials there, and I'm going to click on that one and then replace it like so. Okay, that didn't quite work. Let me undo that. Let's drag this up here and drop it there. Okay, that didn't want to work. Why was that? Let's go ahead and just delete this, and we can delete it here. And I'll try just dropping it onto the cup like that. Okay, that's better. Now, what I'm going to do is to resize it, holding down Shift, and we can drag this and place it onto the box there as well. Maybe rotate it round, resize, and just move it around a little bit. So I'm going to play around with the lighting a little bit. Let's go to the environment. And what we can do with the environment is let's go to the starter assets. We can play around with the lights and choose a different type of lighting. So as well as the environment light, we've got things like 3-point light. I'm going to drag the 3-point light into the image and let's see what happens. Now you can see that completely changes how the image looks. Oh, that's beautiful. Let's go ahead and play with this material here. I want to make this a little bit darker. So we'll open up the cup, click on the material, look at the color, and make that a little bit darker. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And you can tell how quickly this thing actually renders. It's rendering all the time. And you can switch this off so that, doesn't do that all the time. But it's nice to have this ability to render constantly and to be able to see, roughly speaking, what you're going to get when you do the final render. Let's play with the lid a little bit and mess around with that. Now what I want to do is to really change this around a little bit. The emboss color can be a little bit brighter. This color can remain dark. Let's render that. I'm liking that. I'm really liking that. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's work on this thing here. What we can do is to drag an image there. Maybe this gradient. Now it doesn't quite fill the entire sleeve. So what we can do is a couple of things. Now we can drag it underneath the graphic so that we can now see the graphic. And the other thing we can do is to change the placement to fill, and it now fills the entire sleeve. Let me replace that with another pattern. Let's see what that looks like. So I'm just going to drag it to the properties and drop it into the image. And you can see that that's happily replaced that. We can also change the repeat so that we actually get several repeats and it will scale differently. Now, sometimes that works well. Sometimes it doesn't work so well. On this one, it doesn't work too well. So let me try something else. Let's try the gradient again. Let me undo that and drag it into the image and take the repeat down to 0 to 1. Okay, let's do a trial render. I'm going to change the metallic on this one because sometimes that makes things a little bit darker, and I think that's working out fine. That's looking good. Okay, I think what we're going to do now is to work on the box for this. I'm going to work on the material for the box. What I want to do with this guy here is to change the color, make it a little bit darker. So we can click once again on the material and let's make this a little bit more, a little bit warmer, a little bit darker. And I'm liking that. The other thing I want to try is a different backdrop. So we can try, now let's see what that looks like. We're going to do a render. So I'm going to go to a render and let's see what the render looks like. If it looks good, we'll go with this. Let me click over here. Now, when we go into the render, a couple of things to bear in mind. You in the design menu, you can go to edit preferences, and here you can choose to render with GPU. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to render with CPU, so you can see what sort of decent mid-range CPU will do. But if you've got one of the RTX cards, one of the NVIDIA RTX cards, you can, what it says is Dimension has detected that you have a compatible graphics card installed. You can set Dimension to render using this GPU in the application preferences for faster rendering. Now, this is beta, and I have to really stress that currently it is beta. This is not something which is on by default. You have to turn this on. And it is beta, so it's not going to work perfectly. We're going to go to render with CPU. And you can see what a mid-range CPU is going to do in the rendering. We'll hit OK and we'll turn this off and go to render. And here we can choose different render methods. You can render locally or you can use the cloud. If we click on the cloud, I think it will tell you how many credits you're going to use up with your render. Let's go back to local. You can give it a name. I'm going to go for low quality, which is going to be fast, hopefully. And you can export to a PSD. And if you export to a PSD, you'll get results similar to the results that we had, let's say, with this image. You're going to get several layers. You're going to get your material, masks, your depth information, all of that good stuff. And this will depend on the type of image and design that you've created. Now here, to see anything, we have to press render, and we'll see what that does. Now it's going to estimate how much time it's going to take. And because we've put it on low, it's going to take just half a minute. And as you can see, the render is very good, very quick. This is awesome. As you can see, it really did not require any special skills. You just need to know how to design something, and this software will do it for you. Just drag and drop. It's amazing. It really is amazing. Now, if I wanted to do this with the high, the medium or the high, it's going to take a lot longer for the high, maybe about 5 or 6 minutes. If you have one of the really powerful RTX cards, it will take significantly less time if it's all working fine with the GPU rendering. But I think what I'm going to do is to leave it at this. I think this is going to be the finale for this video. But I hope you can see just how impressive this software is. It's simpler than Photoshop for 3D, and it's not capable. There's not a perfect overlap with Photoshop. So if you wanted to, you could take this into Photoshop and do a bit of stuff in the 3D workspace inside of Photoshop and just perfect everything. But as you can see, the results are pretty lush with just a few minutes work. And yeah, I hope you found that useful. We are going to leave it at that. There is so much more to cover with this software, but I think that was a pretty decent introduction. We're going to leave it at that. Take a look at some of the other videos in the description. I'm going to have some Photoshop videos there, and maybe even some Dimension videos as well. But I will leave it at that for the time being. Thanks for watching. I will see you guys next time. Bye.